Guys.
Three men's men, which leads us to the question, what makes a man a man? Beyond the obvious, chromosomal answer, the question of male identity can be a very difficult one, especially, it seems, for men.
Now, enter psychologist Agi O'Hara, founder of a virtual mentoring project aimed at helping men cut through the confusion. Now, the initiative sees high-profile Aussies share insights into everything from overcoming adversity, as was the case for Paralympian Curtis Palmer.
And finding a true passion accelerated my rehab, my development. No longer could I play rugby league anymore. Those dreams were shattered. But all of a sudden I had a new dream. I could be the best wheelchair rugby player in the world.
You need to have that sense.
And through to dealing with abuse, Peter Fitzsimons style.
We know in their hearts they are good young men. But they have made a mistake, and our society is saying, well, you've got to pay for that mistake. Hopefully one of the things to learn is to avoid those situations. If there's danger in the air, if there's violence in the wind, just move away.
Now, it's called What Makes a Man project, and founder Agi O'Hara joins us now. Welcome to the show, Agi. A delight to have you on. Now, you have worked with a lot of women in your capacity as a psychologist. What then brought you to want to target men?
The reality is that a lot of women talk about their relationships and talk about the men in their relationships and the things that have gone wrong. So that already is a curiosity question of why is it that men have such difficulty being in relationships. But then I've also worked with a lot of men. And what I've found over the years is a lot of men say, I don't know how to be in the relationship. I don't know how to be a father. I don't know how to get meaning in my life. Nobody showed me how to be the kind of man that would be happy and successful. So I thought, well, we need to find out, who are the role models? A lot of the men didn't have any.
So, to ask the direct question, what makes a man, is a really interesting one. So much of the conception of masculinity in our society is surrounded by strength, coolness, stoicism, even aggression.
Yes.
Is this about decoupling those things from the biology of masculinity? Or
I think it's much more, to me, to understand that cultural and individual differences define manhood in many different ways. And particularly in somewhere like Australia, where we have so many cultures represented, we need to say that there's a variety of ways to be a man. There isn't just one way. And we need to give permission for men to behave differently and still be seen as manly.
And this is really important because while, these traditional conceptions of masculinity hold sway, then so much of the behaviour that flows from those continues, unabated. I mean, we see men belting each other in the street every Friday night. Around Australia, 500,000 women are living in situations of abuse right now, and many more have or will be.
And what concerns me is that a lot of men and women look for role models in the media because they don't have it at home, they don't have it within their social circles. And what do we see in the media? Often we get stories about men behaving badly. So if you look at the news items, it's all about who did what and when and who they hurt and what the consequences are. We don't get a lot of stories to say, here is a good role model, here is the way that a man could be, instead of the stories that we keep getting. So we need to have other stories in the media.
So how your project works is you asked a bunch of high-profile men, is that right, to get involved. And what did they do?
Well, I asked a great many men and got refused by a great many or ignored by a great many, but in the end I found 16 men who were willing to be interviewed, who were very candid about their life, very candid about the ups and the downs and how they managed to improve things. People like Andrew Anderson talking about his potential violence, his drug taking, his bad behaviour, and how he realised that he couldn't keep doing that. A lot of men talk about becoming fathers and how becoming fathers gives them new perspective about what do I want to show my kids. And he was a very good example of that. The birth of his daughter was a pivotal moment in his life.
And you've taken this into jails and already it's having a massive response.
Well, GEO was very generous in giving us the only funding that I've been able to get for the whole project, despite going to many different bodies. So we did a launch of the DVD of the interviews down at Junee, and even the response response within the prison group was fantastic. We had the launch there, we had angry Terry O'Connell speaking as well about restorative justice. Could have heard a pin drop, and there are a whole lot of inmates in the room as well. And as we walked around the jail, as soon as they saw Angry, you know, they went berserk, like, Angry, Angry, me, come and talk to me.
With a name like Angry, you know, that's a draw card.
But the brilliance is that he talks about the fact that he's been angry, and that's his name, but now he chooses not to be angry.
Yes.
That he makes a specific choice about changing his old habits.
Yes.
And that's a really good role model, because people say, I can relate to him.
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it? And sadly, we have to go soon, but, you know, these guys are acting as role models for men who perhaps don't have role models of their own, but hopefully teaching them that everyone is a role model to their mates, to their sons, to all the other men around them, really.
And there's a responsibility about being part of the masculine community and feeling that you've got a part to play in that. So hopefully, you know, these interviews allow, because you can get them for free on the website. Anyone can go in and have a look. What are all these men talking about? What are their life stories that I might learn something from? And it's hopefully a really good virtual mentoring.
Yeah, indeed. Well, one thing men aren't terribly good at is conversation about things that matter to them. So, you know, let us know on the soapbox, what makes a man? What do you think it means to be a man, or what do you hope it could mean to be a man? Agi O'Hara, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. And Agi has, you know, as she said, got some money from GEO about this, but Agi's also put a lot of her own resources into this as well. So if you're watching and you'd like to see this program expand and you have a bit of cash to throw around, well, maybe give Agi a call. Cheers, Agi.
Thank you, Agi.
Thank you very much.
Ahead, Australia.